in the first 5 games. Doncic creates some space and backs it home. Doncic throws it up for Lively. Harden trying to jam it in there. What an outlet pass, and Irving lays it in. Oh, what a pass. Offensive rebounds for the Dallas Mavericks. Irving dancing, prancing, pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! And a foul.
So another team gets eliminated, another video needs to be dropped. Today we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks eliminating the Los Angeles Clippers in the playoffs. Before we get to the Clippers, huge shout out to the Mavericks. Great series all around from the team from top to bottom. Wasn't the greatest series from Luka in terms of shooting efficiency. Didn't finish that series healthy either, as he has some knee problems, so he clearly isn't 100%. And also in terms of the Mavericks, their rotation is again a little bit thinner as well, as they lost both Tim Hardaway Jr. and Maxi Kleber throughout this series, so that sucks. But again, really great win, top to bottom from Dallas. Also, huge shout out to Kyrie. Wasn't the biggest believer myself. He didn't have the greatest track record post LeBron during the playoffs. Didn't play the greatest in Boston that 1 year in that postseason run. And also his time in Brooklyn, short-lived, but still really didn't ring off with anything significant for anybody to hold on to. It's great that he's back in the playoffs, performing really well. Had an amazing series, especially in the second half where he was really sensational, turned it on, and was a difference maker in trying to close out these games in favor for the Mavericks. Also, huge shout out to Derrick Jones Jr., stepped up big for this team. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, huge additions for this team that needed a little bit more athleticism in their front court, and they got it. So huge shout out to the Mavericks, really, really great. But gotta talk about the Clippers, man, because of course there is going to be this conversation that needs to be had with the Clippers, and I am here for it, especially because in the beginning of the season, or roughly in the beginning part of the year when they traded for James Harden, how everything was kind of spiraling out of control. People were panicking and trying to point to James Harden and him being the problem. But I told you that the real problem with this team is that this is an organization that has effectively spent $200 million on a roster that was incomplete, and eventually it would catch up to them. Sure, they had their moments in the regular season. Sure, things started to flow a little bit. Sure, they seemed to have pieced things together with the star power that they had, especially when Kawhi Leonard was there and 100% healthy, but everything, of course, falls apart every single year, and this year is no exception at all. And honestly, I'm gonna just say this, the biggest nightmare for the Clippers is actually coming true. Now, walk with me for a second. As we all know, back in 2019, the Los Angeles Clippers went on this path to trying to build a super team of sorts, at least a super duo, by acquiring Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the offseason. And of course, we all know the iconic trade where the Clippers were able to unload not only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but a slew of draft capital to go get Paul George and effectively also acquire Kawhi Leonard in that process as well, because of course, Kawhi wasn't going to come over unless PG was here. So they had to do any and everything in their power to make sure they can get both PG and Kawhi, and that's exactly what they did. Filled out the rest of the roster, had Doc Rivers as a head coach, went into the bubble that postseason run because as we all know that was a Rona, and blew a 3-1 lead. And from that moment to where we are today, it has been a complete disaster and nightmare for the Clippers. Now, why exactly do I say that? Well, for starters, Paul George is the exact same player that we always knew he has always been. In this postseason run, he provided the evidence once more. As great as PG is as a player, and he is a really, really great player, I don't ever want to take anything away from him. As time has progressed, he has shown the type of regression that would only make one regret making the trade for him where we are today. He finished his series 19.5 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, but shooting sub 42% from the field, sub 37% from behind the arc. In particular, the last 2 games of the series, he was abysmal. My goodness. But hey, who could have guessed it? Who could have thunk that playoff P, once more, doesn't show up in the playoffs? But hey, man, James Harden, of all people, would have shown up, right? Now, to be fair to Harden, in the first 4 games, he was sensational. He was electrifying. He was actually so damn good that I actually thought that this team, even without Kawhi Leonard, had a fighting chance. But right on time. James Harden, as he normally does, falls short when the team needs him most. In game 5 and 6, he was horrific. He was terrible in the last 2 games of the closeout. He was horrific. In game 5, he left that outing with only 7 points, but 4 turnovers, shot 2 for 12 from the field, 1 for 7 from behind the arc, and only got to the free throw line 2 times, and you would assume that things would get better in game 6, and though they did, but 16 points, 13 assists, but 5 for 16 from the field, 0 for 6 from behind the arc. I mean, my goodness, that's embarrassing. It is crazy to me how much faith that this organization put on this man. But possibly the worst of them all, and I do mean the worst of them all, Russell Westbrook. Oh my, Russ! As a Laker fan, I've been told so many things about this man. How it was our fault, it was LeBron's fault, it was the coaching. I mean, we got rid of a coach. We got rid of a championship coach. bench because of this man. We was told how we were wrong for putting him on the bench, how he still had more in him. Oh, it's working out because of regular season games. What exactly did Westbrook do in this series? Westbrook finished the series averaging a whopping 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists with 2 turnovers, shooting 26% from the field and 23% from behind the arc, 61.5% from the free throw line. This what makes things even worse. A lot of those numbers are actually being carried by a pretty good game one, where Russ put up 13 points. He shot 62% from the field and 50% from behind the arc. So what happens when you remove game one? Well, for the next following 5 games, Westbrook averaged a whopping 5 points, 4 rebounds, and assists. If you would have guessed the type of shooting splits, you wouldn't even come close, because Westbrook didn't shoot sub 40%. Westbrook didn't shoot sub 30%. No. Westbrook shot below 20% from the field, 19% from the field, 15% from behind the arc, 63.6% from the free throw line. Objectively speaking, these are some of the worst numbers I've ever seen from anybody receiving rotational minutes for a playoff team. This man was playing fewer and fewer minutes as the series progressed. Be very mindful that Kawhi was hurt, so the fact that he was playing even fewer minutes meant that he was practically unplayable, even in a series where one of the stars wasn't even there. Westbrook, if it can't work here, it ain't gonna work nowhere else. Nowhere else. So now, that's done. Since we now know who Westbrook is and we can finally accept who he is, and we've now seen him in a postseason run where he has both Harden and Paul George, 2 other stars, and he still looks that bad, please, I would like many of you to stop telling us about how the Lakers ruined his career, because we didn't. As I've been telling many of you all for the past, at this point, almost 10 years now, this man would have been better off shifting his attention to be more efficient on the ball in terms of 3-point shooting, and more effective and efficient off ball as well in terms of attacking the basket during closeouts, and also backdoor cuts when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, but something that he didn't want to focus on because you all love to gas up inflated rebounding numbers. But fair enough. Yet again, the brother can't get out of the first round. I want you all to be clear that this man Westbrook has only seen 1 second-round appearance since that brother Kevin Durant left him. Amazing career. Fantastic, sensational player. Hall of Famer. All-time great. But that still does not absolve him from some of the flaws that he displayed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. That it was very obvious when this man started to age, this is what it would look like. But hey, congratulations. Got your MVP, got your triple doubles. Hope everything works out for you later on. Probably might have to sign another vet minimum. But hey, man, you earned your money. Now, to be fair to PG, Harden, and Russ, they were asked to do more than originally expected, because everyone had to step up and fill the void that once more was not fulfilled when the postseason turned around, and that was Kawhi Leonard. Now, this is a conversation that many of you all don't want to have, but this is why I make these videos, so we can have very uncomfortable conversations. As I told you all several months ago, the problem with the Clippers is that this is an organization that has spent $200 million, and it's an incomplete roster that still has to overly depend on Kawhi Leonard playing at a certain level that none of us is certain that he can play for any extended period of time. And so, despite the fact that Luka wasn't 100% healthy, despite the fact that the Dallas Mavericks were missing rotational players, despite the fact that you should still be able to lean heavy on a roster that even without Kawhi is well over $140-50 million, you couldn't do so, and that's a problem. But let's make this problem an even bigger one. Let's have the uncomfortable conversation about Kawhi, because who is he? What role is Kawhi Leonard playing in the NBA in terms of the hierarchy of stars? Matter of fact, what role does he play on his own team in the hierarchy of stars of Paul George and James Harden? Because I'm gonna be honest with you all, this regular season was not suffice enough for me to put him in any conversation that would consider him to be top 10. We go into every single postseason run, and this man gets the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? Understandably so. All-time great. Performs at ridiculous level when he is available, but the brother is never available. Peep this. Since 2019, the only time that Kawhi Leonard has been able to finish a postseason run to completion was in 2020 during the bubble. That's when the NBA ended the regular season, had a 5-month hiatus before they went back into the regular season to go into the postseason, and he also had no travel. That's it. That's the only time. And what's even crazier is that not only this year, but last year, heading into the playoffs, Kawhi Leonard had time before we got into the postseason for him to rest, and he still wasn't 100% healthy to go. Matter of fact, not even 100% healthy. He wasn't even available to finish the first round of the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard stopped playing regular season games on March 31st. He didn't play another game until April 23rd, until the end of April. He effectively missed a whole month of basketball and still wasn't ready to go. He still wasn't 100%. He was game tying headed into that game too. So I have to ask the question, what exactly is this team? How is it that you can construct a roster that, again, $200 million, and you're going to give James Harden his contract extension that he's been wanting for the last 2 years now, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with Paul George as well, because you got to extend him also. And the best player on the roster who you've already extended, making $50+ million for some of the years, you don't even know if he's going to be available to play in playoff games for you. And we're not even talking about getting into the second or the third round where you were effectively playing basketball every other day. No, we're talking about a man who gets a month break before the postseason begins and still cannot play more than 2 games in the first round in back-to-back seasons. So if you're the Clippers, you're screwed. You made a commitment to a roster that cannot stay healthy enough, especially at the top in terms of Kawhi, to make it through a first round appearance. And even the second and third option in Paul George and James Harden are habitual playoff droppers. They drop in the postseason every single year in pivotal moments when you need them the most. They underperform. I don't know how many more years we have to go into those two players' careers before we have to accept who they are, especially when you ask them to do more than what they're capable of doing. And be very mindful, I just want to be clear, the Dallas Mavericks, really, really good team, has some nice athletes on that side of the floor, and that's exactly what I told you that the Clippers need. They need athletes. But the Mavericks, they're not Minnesota. If you have a problem with Derrick Jones Jr. on you, wait until Jaden McDaniels is on you. Wait until Anthony Edwards is on you. Wait until the back line of Rudy Gobert is there. Hey, if you have a hard time defending Luka and Kyrie when Luka's on one knee and he's not 100%, what are you going to do with the Denver Nuggets? If you can't beat the Dallas Mavericks, you're not close at all. But wait, it gets worse. I alluded to this already. So what exactly, if you're Clipper fans out there, what exactly do you do with the roster? Are you going to just sign James Harden to whatever he wants? Are you just going to give Paul George whatever he wants? Or what if Paul George leaves? Matter of fact, what if James Harden leaves? Then what? Because I'm going to be honest with you, Harden might just want his money. But if you're PG, get on the right team, be the third option, I don't know. Definitely be better than trying to masquerade as a number one, in which Paul George has already identified that he is not that. Better potentially go on another team than first round exit after first round exit after first round exit, because you know in your heart of hearts you cannot concretely state that Kawhi Leonard is even going to be available. But you know what? Even if they keep Harden, they keep PG, they keep Russ, they bring the band back, right? You're still talking about a roster that, again, is going to be committed to a ridiculous amount of money on the salary cap, and again, cannot convince anyone that they can actually compete in this Western Conference. But this is where the nightmare comes into action. How crazy is it that the Thunder are actually better now? The Thunder's a better team. Better record, younger players, more athletes, they're available, making it to the second round. The way everything is shaped up, if they beat Dallas, may be able to even make the conference finals. How quickly things change. From when you all traded to get PG and in Kawhi, you not only shipped them over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is now a better player than anyone on that roster. How crazy is that? But in the process, you have effectively given them all the tools to beat you as well. Because for those who are unaware, guess what some of those draft picks have already panned out to be? Jalen Williams. Yes, J-Dub. One of the draft picks that the Clippers gave them turned out to be J-Dub. Guess what another one of those draft picks turned out to be? It got shipped around and it ended up in Miami, and they just drafted the player this year, and yeah, you're right, Jaime Jaquez. Some of these draft picks have already been materializing and turning out to be players that are already better than some of the rotational pieces that the Clippers have on their roster today, and they didn't have to spend $200 million to build these teams. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you want to continue to watch more videos like this moving forward, make sure you hit the subscribe button, notification bell. Also, if you want to see me stream, I do so basically daily. All these playoff games are being streamed on playback.tv/Lowe's Check me out there all the time. But as always, if you don't, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Put your $200 million smiles in the chat, man. $200 million smiles in the comment section. Peace.